What is going on, everybody? My name is Coda and welcome back to Coda's Auto Service and Repair. Today we are doing a 2015 Ford Escape. We are doing a full brake job, so I thought for now we're going to start with the front brakes. So just diving straight into it, the first thing you're going to do on the front brakes is you're going to take your flathead screwdriver and you're just going to pop this little cover off. Each of them have a tiny little cover like this that holds the 7mm hex head that you're going to need to get the bolt out. And then, oh, bottom one's already missing, so we're not going to worry about that. And again, this is going to be a 7mm hex head. This is my clutch. I'm going to use my Milwaukee electric ratchet just to make it fast. Gotta break it loose sometimes. All right, so now that we got those two loosened up, you'll see on this one, they have these safety clips. That's what kind of holds this side in. So for that, you'll just need a flathead screwdriver. What I like to do is I'll kind of wiggle in. Now, when you go to wiggle these off, this is usually going to launch off. So you'll start right here, move it out a little bit, and then what I like to do to finish prying, go ahead and get a little hook. And usually they pop off just like that. So we're gonna not litter, we're gonna pick that up, throw it on the tool cart, bounce right off over to the concrete. So then we're going to spin this back, make sure our bolts are all the way out. In this case, our top one is still in just a little. And then from there, we'll take our flathead and we will gently move this back to a little wiggle and get that off. So we're not gonna, so usually this is where you'll take the forks off the back side of this brake. We're gonna leave this alone for now. The customer wants their rotors turned. She does have a little bit of pitting on these. So for now, we're gonna take our hanger, we're gonna stick it through there, and then we're just gonna hang it right up there on top of that, just making sure that the brake line doesn't get any sort of kink to it. So just like that. And then we have to take off our frame here. The frame is going to be two 18mm bolts, one here, one here. Go ahead and get this brake pad out of the way. As you can see, was in some desperate need of some brake pads. So to make this easier, it is going to be an 18mm. I'm going to go ahead and use my impact just to make life easy. Usually, I don't recommend dropping these, but before we install the brakes, what we are going to do, we are going to clean these guides right here with a good wire brush, but we can touch on that later. So because this has this groove, this too will hang right there, right inside the spring. So that way we can work on getting our rotor. Also, what I also like to do, these bolts, just go ahead and thread those back in. That way you don't lose them. That way everything stays the same. And because, you know, turning rotors do take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending. This one is going to be on there pretty good. So I'm going to get a dead blow, give this some love taps, and see if we can't get that off. Alrighty, so went and got the dead blow out of the toolbox. So gentle love taps on the back of this, nothing too hard, because at the end of the day, you do not want to crack this. So all we're going to do, one hand here, and then just a little love taps. And just like that, we got our rotor off. This rotor doesn't look bad, but it does have some pitting right here. Maybe some light will pick up some of those grooves. A little bit of that pitting means that when you put new brakes on them, they won't quite seat right. They could lead to premature wear failure, or they could just be extremely noisy. So our local O'Reilly's does turn these. Not too bad of a price. So if you're definitely worried about spending some extra money, I recommend turning them, which you should get them turned when you do your brakes anyway, just to make sure they're going to be as good as possible. And then after we drop our rotors off, we're going to come back and we will prep our surface here, which is just hitting this with a wire wheel. And then we will go ahead and get our brakes seated and then we'll get to cleaning the frame that everything's gonna mount up to. All right, so now we are going to work on the back ones. We're gonna do the same song and dance. We're going to start with pulling this cap out. So these boots are rubber. You don't wanna be too aggressive with them because you could break them, but you just gently push the cap out, and just like that, both caps should easily just pop right out. And then this time, since we still have a screwdriver, we're gonna go ahead and take this one out. So this one comes out the exact same as the other. You just kind of pry it off and then it's gonna launch itself. No, it didn't do it that time. Nope, okay. So then we'll gently pull down on the bottom one and then start working out that way. And then we'll just grab our clips and set them over here. And then from there, we will get our T7 on our old Milwaukee again. And then use it as a breaker bar. And then we will do the same on the bottom. You'll just feed it through. Need a little bit more room. Oh, that one kick-started right out. And then gentle nudge. Pop it right out. Then you will take your flathead again and just gently lean back. Now, when you do the back one, you don't have near the room, and you have your emergency brake cable here, so you be mindful of that. The emergency brake cable and the entire housing is attached to this. So when you pull back on it and start walking it out, just be mindful that if you pull too hard, you could damage your cable. So just gentle, slow.
Brake. This one is gripping. Nope, pad come out with it. That's what it is.
As gentle as possible anyway. And then we'll take our hanger, hang it through here, and then just kind of set it up on the shock. The back housing for this one is a 13 millimeter. So just make sure you're set to loosen. Really don't have enough room to get the impact in here, so you're just going to kind of have to muscle this one up. Take out both of those. And then for the sake of time, I'm going to switch to my electric wrench again.
One bolt out.
2 bolt out. Now again, same as the first, we are going to clean these, but we need to get the rotor off first. So for now, we will just hang that right there on the frame, just like so. Oh, I lied. We're gonna take our bolts, thread those back through so we don't lose them. That way every bolt stays in proper place. And then we will just gently hang it right there. And then same as the other side. So this ain't wanting to come off. Next trick, hit a little bit of WD-40 or PB Blaster right in here, let it soak a little bit, and then we'll give it some more love taps after it's soaked for a few seconds. So we're gonna use some PB Blaster, or we already did. Main thing is gonna be hitting around this seal, and then shoving the occasional through here on the threads, just any way to get it down in there. And then it's gonna be the same as before. We're gonna give some love taps here. Oh, there we go. And then kind of like before, looks like they did a little off-roading. Kind of like before, we're gonna look at these. We see some pitting on it. And so we're gonna go ahead and get all 4 rotors turned. That way it's gonna be a full new brake system virtually whenever we get done. All right, so we just got back from dropping the rotors off. The sun has since went down, so while we're waiting on the rotors to be turned, we are going to go ahead and start by cleaning up some of the frames where the brake pads are gonna sit and how everything's gonna go. So for this, I like to use these just little cheap, got this for a $2 bucket at Atwood. I'll set both of them in there and then of course hit it with some brake clean first. So we're going to brake clean these before we use the wire brush here to get everything out of the way. This just kind of gets all of the big stuff out of the way first. So let that, and then you got a nice little pool of dirt at the bottom of that. So we're gonna let that dry down. The brake clean just made me realize I have a nasty cut on my finger. I'm gonna put on some gloves and then we're gonna get some rags and get to cleaning some of the brake clean off. Right, so got some gloves on, got an old rag for this. So the main thing you're gonna be doing is cleaning around these bolts here and then cleaning mostly where the brakes are gonna slide. So as you can see, a lot of that grime is just gonna come off like that. Hit it with some brake clean first. Most of the time helps a little, but as grimy as these are, I don't think I have enough brake clean to cut through them. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna go ahead and fire up the old Bauer here. Got a wire wheel on this. I'm going to cut all the volume from this because this thing vibrates and is extremely noisy. So now that this is done, you can see the main thing that I was trying to hit was all these spots where everything's gonna go. Some of these didn't come out perfect. I just couldn't get the right angle on it. So we may use a drill and a wire brush just to get down in some of these, but I mainly tried to hit every spot that there was a moving bolt or every spot that there's gonna be pressure on it, and then we can come back in after the fact and we're gonna hit this with a little bit of brake grease just to make sure that everything's gonna work correctly. I'm not going to bother showing doing the other three of these. It's basically going to be rinse, lather, and repeat on all three. Now, I'm going to get the next three of these done up, and then we will switch over to prepping the hub and get ready for the rotors and to put the frames back on. Alrighty, so before we mount up the frame, before we mount up anything else, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to look at the hub here, and we are going to have to prep this hub. We're going to be cleaning the surface everywhere that the rotor itself is going to touch. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill the volume for this part, but we're gonna be using a brush with a wire wheel. All right, so now that we have our hub nice and clean, to prevent this from getting so bad, you can't really make out this can, but this is the CRC branded rust inhibitor. This will help prevent from rust, corrosion, and this will also help keep this lubricated. So what we'll do is we'll just put on a little thin coat there, and then we will reach over and grab our freshly cleaned, freshly turned rotor, and we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit on the inside of this as well. So you just give it a little bit of a little coat there. That'll just help keep everything slicked up. It'll help keep rust from forming and should make life a little bit easier going forward when we work on this. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna turn it to open this up a little bit, and then we're gonna start with our hardware. So with this, you wanna make sure it's nice and clean. You wanna make sure you got everything off this, or at least as much as possible. Now that we have our rotor nice and set, we verified this is nice and cleaned up, we will just set this in and kind of follow this into place. I always like to start threading these bolts out with my finger. I always like to start threading these out by hand first. Just getting a few in there, kind of losing. Watch me struggle so you don't have to. Didn't have that lined up. And then always start them out like this. So these bolts right here, these are gonna be 18 millimeter bolts. So these have a torque spec of 129 foot-pounds. So what we'll do is we'll grab our good old torque wrench. We'll get that set to a little bit too for, turn that back down. We'll go to 129. So the fitment of this, getting my torque wrench to fit properly is gonna be the hard part. So we gotta get a little extra turn there. And then from there, we just snug these down all the way. So now that we got that mounted up, it is time to address a little bit on this caliper. So this vehicle, unfortunately, if you can't tell, does have a CV axle that is leaking. The customer is aware, but unfortunately that is something we're gonna have to deal with later. So for now, we're just gonna try to clean this.
We're gonna hit it with some brake clean just to try to break. We're gonna hit it with some brake clean just to try to break some of that up.
And then we're gonna take one of our old gloves and we're just gonna try to kind of smear this off just to try to clean this up a little bit. That way we're not making so much of a mess moving forward. So my can of brake clean lost aerosol, so while I took the chance, I went ahead and got a small brush and a towel, really blast all that off, clean it up, and then you're gonna take our little copper brush here and just clean everything the best you can. Now, did I use way too much brake clean? There's a very real possibility, but that's significantly cleaner. Also, highly recommend investing in these pans, because then you can just take your pan, set it right under there, and now you're just back to scrubbing. So then you'll kind of pop these bolts out a little bit, make sure those are going to be good, and if you wanted to, you could wiggle them out all the way, which is what I'm going to do here. These bolts do look a little bit on the dry side. So I'm going to get our hook back here. I'm going to go ahead and hook this back up. Now we're going to get some brake grease so we can go ahead and grease these bolts the way they are supposed to be. And then you'll just kind of slather some up right there on this one. Take your finger and just kind of run it around, making sure everything's nice and done. And go ahead and insert that back into the boot. Then you will grab your other one, give you a little bit more. And then it's going to be the same process. It's just going to be lathering this up nice and good, making sure that everything is lubed the way that it's supposed to. And we're also going to hit the back of our brakes with this a little bit. So for now, we'll just go ahead and wiggle that back in there like so. So now what we'll do is we'll get our hanger off. We'll get our hanger out of the way. So now that we have this back, we'll take our old brake pad, go ahead and pop it back in there like so. And then we'll use our brake pad compression tool and just kind of spin this up. So unlike the rear brakes, you don't need a special tool to do these. This one, it just takes a little bit of time. You can start wiggling it back, and then from there, you just take your time, just nice, even, smooth turns. That way you're not shooting so much pressure back up in your reservoir that you're making a mess. And you may have to drain your reservoir just a little as you are pulling all this down. So you'll back that off a little bit, set your tool to the side. You'll grab these ears here and your prongs will come right out. So that's what holds this brake into that piston, is just those three right there. You will take your new pad, line the ears up just like that, and just snap them into place. Then you'll take your bolts here, you'll kind of push them back. So as you're kind of balancing with this hand, you'll take your other pad, gently slide it into place, kind of setting the rotor. And then from there, everything will just ever so gently kind of fall into lineup just like that. So just because these are kind of hard to start with your finger, I recommend starting it with your ratchet. Again, that is going to be a 7mm hex head.
Gently start like this.
And then once you're sure that you're seated, you'll go ahead and move to the bottom one, where you will just repeat the process. Alrighty, so now that we have everything mounted correctly, we have everything mounted on the back end, everything should be good to go. We'll go ahead and grab this. We'll give everything a tight squeeze. And now it is to reinstall this little bugger right here. So I like to start at the bottom on these, and then this one just sets in there. And just like that, it pops in. So some of them will have these C hooks. Well, you will need this. Some of them are a little bit softer. This one, tell by how the groove goes and down. This just sets right in. So you just pop that right in. So before we get ready to put our tire back on, what we're gonna do is just make sure this is nice and clean. We're gonna hit our rag with a touch of our favorite cleaning material, as we know that is all gonna be brake clean. And we're just gonna give it a quick wipe down, making sure that everything is nice, clean, no weird oils, no residues, anything like that. Alrighty, so now that that is done, the front of the brakes are completely done. We are going to torque the lug nuts to proper spec, but that is not going to be until we get the car all the way on the ground. So for now, we've had our impact set to about 7 Ugga-Duggas. That is roughly 100 foot-pounds of torque. We're going to have to finish the back tomorrow. You need a specialty tool to do the back, so I will have to hunt one of them down in the morning, and I'll be able to finish the backs first thing tomorrow morning and get this customer back on the road. Alrighty, so we are back the following morning and we are starting on the rear brakes. So to do the rear brakes, I miscalculated something on this vehicle. I thought this vehicle had the electronic brake where you could flip your switch, you could put it into basically a service mode and just push this back, and that was not the case. So I had to go get the multi-caliper tool. This is the one that will go into that piston right there. That piston does not just compress, it has to spin and compress simultaneously. So for now, get that caliper hung back up. We are going to start the same way we did yesterday, and that is going to be prepping this hub. So and then we'll take our CRC, we will take our rotor, put just a tiny little layer on the rotor, and just another good layer there. We will move back around to here, get our rotor set, move on to grabbing our frame. See if I can't get this one in one shot, unlike yesterday's. So you'll start this bolt here. Your second bolt will be down here. So, like we talked about yesterday, always just kind of start them by hand. And then to be a time saver, we have our electric ratchet. And then from there, we will switch over to our ratchet with the same 13, and just make sure these are good and snug. Unfortunately, my torque wrench will not reach back in here, but we have an estimate of what 88 foot-pounds is supposed to look like. So I imagine that's going to be pretty close. And now to move on to the fun part. So this is the Maddox from Harbor Freight. It's nothing super fancy, it's nothing super special, but it does work fairly well for what I needed to do, and today that is just going to be pulling some brakes off. So you'll line up the 2 holes there, just like that. Now, getting the alignment on these can be a little bit tricky. The main thing you want to do is make sure that it is seated. You'll lift up like that, and then from there, you'll just kind of hand thread it to make sure to get that good, snug start. Now, these, whenever they are extended just a little bit too much, are a little bit of a bear to get going at first. So hopefully this one doesn't give us too much flack. And then it's just going to be smooth spins, pressing and spinning at the same time. And it feels like this one's going in pretty easy. Now, one thing that I learned is very quickly on these tools is you can't just back this off. It won't come out. You have to back this piece off. And I don't have a 22 millimeter, but I do have good old faithful here. And these are reverse threaded. So this will go like you're tightening it. And then it should just break loose about that easy. You'll spin this down until you have the amount of room you need to just pop that right out. And then from there, we will take our Detroit axle, because that's the brakes that we went with this one. Switch back to this side. So the one with the tab will always go on the inside. So you'll just set them right in like that. And then the outer one, start there, and it should just fall right in, just like that. And then from there, you just gently set this down over. Sorry, had to make a little light adjustment. You'll start at the top, getting that tab set. You'll give it a little bit. When you feel like you've kind of got it lined up, you'll switch to your ratchet with your 7mm. So the key there is just making sure that it starts the proper way. And then with the bottom one, because you have that tab, you can see you can push. You'll have to push inward and then start it the same way. And these only get tightened down to roughly 27 foot-pounds. And then we'll reach over, we'll get our safety plugs and our hardware. Not safety plugs, but we'll get our caps. You just stick one cap there. The other cap just presses right on. I don't think I showed that on the first brakes yesterday. And then as far as this one goes, it's gonna be rinse, lather, and repeat for what we did yesterday. So it's gonna start out there, push into the bottom, wiggle that safety tab there, and then with your hand or a screwdriver, so in this case, I'm gonna have to use a screwdriver, and just like that, it's in. That one fought me by far the hardest of any of the others. Alrighty, and just like that, that is how you do a full brake service, turn your rotors, everything on a 2015 Ford Escape SE with the manual parking brake. The ones that are automatic and have the service mode, you can easily just push those back. I'm not gonna bother like showing how to put the wheel on or do anything else on this one because that's all basic stuff that we went over doing at the front. So for now, it's just gonna be wiping the rotor back down, putting all the wheels back on, and then testing the brakes to make sure everything went as smooth as possible. So for now, thanks for watching. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. If there's anything that y'all think I need to fix, anything worth critiquing, or anything I can clean up in the video, obviously just leave me something and let me know. But until next time, we will see all you fellers later.